states. And every transaction always has tax. Which is fantastic. It's exactly what you want. It's exactly what you want.
So do you bill for each property then?
Oh, no, like, I work
What
with
up, brother?
so it's relationship based, right? That's why I work with 12 months. I'll tell you more in just 1 minute. And we have a couple forms in the back as soon as we're finished, but I'll pass them on. I want to tell you a quick story in our remaining moments tonight. And by the way, I look forward to meeting you all in person. I will tell you my team is top notch, they're excellent. They are very adept at getting to exactly what your needs are and understanding exactly where you are. So when I meet with you, our time is very impactful. So by the time we meet, I'll know exactly where you are and exactly what you need and how to be there.
All right.
I typically do one meeting, sometimes it will be 2 meetings before they come on board as clients. But I need to make sure that if you come on board as a client, we're a good match. Understand exactly what you're getting and why you're getting this, and that we are aligned with making sure that you're looking at the objectives you're looking at. Does that make sense? Not everybody's a fit, is what I'm trying to say. Thank you. Fantastic. Okay, so let me tell you something. Going back over 20 years ago, I used to teach classes. This is before I retired to West West, almost 30 years ago. It was in the early 2000s and late 90s. And one of the classes that I taught, there was this really sweet older lady that was speaking in my class. And I offered everyone at the end of our meetings the ability to meet one time after our class. And so she came in on a weekend afternoon and sat down, and I expected her to have, some normal amount of assets. Turns out she had about $36 million of assets, and at the point I was a 24-year-old kid, right? And her husband was a podiatrist, I believe. They owned strip malls and done relatively well. To give you an example of what I talk about when I'm talking about siloed advisors, I was just a Wall Street guy back then. But I knew enough to understand when I saw this, that this particular person had millions of dollars in losses in their investment portfolio. And they were paying millions of dollars in tax based upon the sale of their property. They had capital losses that were sitting on their books, and they were paying capital gains tax. And I remember even at 24, asking this wonderful woman, I said, why didn't you simply sell some of these Wall Street assets, buy them back 30 days later, right? Create the capital loss to wash your capital gain and pay zero tax. And her eyes got this big. And she said, you can do that? And I said, oh yeah. And she said, well, why didn't my accountants ever tell me this? Right? And I tell you, this was almost 30 years ago. The reason is because tax preparers work for the IRS. Great people. I work with a lot of tax preparers. But their ultimate boss in the IRS, they might have hundreds of clients. But if they get stuck in audit after audit, they will get a bad name to the IRS, and they will audit their entire client base and put that person out of business. So realize that they are not incentivized as you are incentivized as a taxpayer, number one. Number two, most tax preparers will tell you about Augusta rule, home office deduction, vehicle mileage, all sorts of these little ticky-tack stuff. Make your IRA, your 401k contributions, et cetera, et cetera. The larger strategies are not what they do. Some tax attorneys know this, but very few people have tax attorneys. And the majority of taxpayers stick to what I consider to be great basics. To give you an example, a gentleman came to us last year. He was skiing in Switzerland at the time. He sent his tax returns. His tax return said he made $9.5 million. And he paid on that $3.1 million, so he made 37%. I was reviewing his tax forms, privacy in one office, but as I looked at it, I just stopped. I just had to stop on page 2. And I couldn't believe it. Because on page 1, it said how much he made and how much he was going to pay in tax, right? Full vote, 37%, over $3 million to the IRS. You know what page 2 said? Page 2 is how much he pays in accounting. How much is this person paying his, or making $9.5 million a year, paying over $3 million in tax, 37%? How much do you pay his account? How much do you pay his accountant to prepare that return? Negative. $1,800. This is how smart the guy was. The guy was so smart, he had such a great deal on his tax return that he paid over $40 million for the IRS. You understand? The idea is that there is a reason for higher level advisors, and there's a reason you've not met them before. They're not inexpensive. I'm not expensive. But they are worth absolutely everything. Because if you have the right coach, and you do the right things, all of those numbers you wrote down on your page, you paid 23, 24, 25, 26. All of those can go to zero. No one can take your assets, and all of your money can pass on to the next generation. All right, with that, my name is Travis Allen. I will stick around. Thank you so much for coming. I'll stick around for 5 minutes to answer any questions you have. And I want to give one thing to the one tenant, your W-2 in the room, correct? Yes. Wow. I'm going to give you, first, I'm going to give you one